Lafayette might seem like a charming southern city full of Cajun flavor, cultural pride, and warm hospitality, but living here comes with some serious trade-offs that most people actually don't talk about. In this video, I'm going to be breaking down 7 brutally honest reasons why Lafayette might not be the right place for you. From the humidity that feels like walking through soup, to the rising flood risk, traffic bottlenecks, and some sneaky hidden costs that catch newcomers by surprise, we're going to go deep into what it's really like to live here year-round. So let's kick it off with one of the biggest deal breakers for many people, the kind of humidity that hits you like a wall the second you step outside. So number 1 would be the brutal humidity. Lafayette's humidity is legendary even by Louisiana standards. We're talking about the air so thick that you can practically swim through it for about 6 months throughout the year. From late April through October, humidity levels regularly hover around 70 to about 90%, creating a heat index that makes the actual temperature start to feel about 10 to 15 degrees hotter than it actually is. And this isn't just uncomfortable, it actually can change how you live. Stepping outside means instantly breaking into a sweat or starting to get that sticky skin. Your clothes stick to you, your hair never quite wants to cooperate, and yeah, mine probably is a little bit frizzy today for that very reason. And you can forget about quick errands without looking like you just finished a workout. Air conditioning isn't a luxury here, it's an absolute necessity, and your electric bills can really reflect that reality when the summer utility cost often can even double or even triple the usual winter rates that you might have. Now, the humidity really creates perfect conditions for mold or mildew, which means you must have constant vigilance in your home. Leaving something damp or dry for 2 days, it will likely start to find some kind of weird fuzzy growth or maybe even some different colored growths on it. Those can be really problematic for people, especially if you have respiratory issues such as asthma or maybe allergies, and many of whom find these conditions significantly worse after moving here. Now, most locals develop coping mechanisms like scheduling outdoor activities for early in the morning or maybe in the evening time, taking some extra clothes for that midday change, or developing a deep appreciation for anywhere with really powerful air conditioning. There's a reason that so many social gatherings happen indoors, especially during the summer months. So who does this work for? Well, if you like tropical climates and you don't mind sweating and you don't have any severe allergies or respiratory issues that those things would bother. If you're someone who enjoys hot yoga or tropical vacations year-round, you might actually love Lafayette's natural sauna-like effect. Those who might struggle, well, those who are used to drier climates or anyone who values being able to style their hair and have it stay that way for more than 20 minutes, once the humidity hits it, it really kind of has a mind of its own, especially if you have waves like mine. But if the humidity doesn't drive you away, the next challenge might test your patience, and this could be something on a daily basis. So let's talk about the traffic congestion without the big city benefits. So Lafayette has somehow managed to develop big city traffic problems without actually being a major city. Despite having a population of only about 130,000 in the city proper, the congestion can really rival places 3 times its size, especially during rush hour. The main culprits are the outdated infrastructure and poor urban planning. Many major roads were designed years ago and even decades ago, and they have made it where it was prepared for much smaller population, and they simply just haven't taken the time to expand it to meet the current needs. Ambassador Caffrey Parkway, Johnson Street, Calle Saloon can all become parking lots during peak times and really turning into what can be a 15-minute commute, maybe even up to 30 minutes or more, depending on what is going on, like the holiday season or rush hour. But what makes that particularly frustrating is that unlike major metropolitan cities, there are a few alternative transportation options. Public transit is limited, bike lanes are really scarce, and the sprawling nature of Lafayette's development means that walking is really rarely practical. You're essentially forced to sit in traffic just like everyone else. Now, the city has made some improvements in recent years with projects like widening of Calle Saloon and the Ambassador Caffrey extension that's now there, but these developments always seem to be playing catch up rather than really getting ahead of the growth. And during the construction, well, that just means the congestion is even worse. Thank God it's only temporary, but locals do really develop an intimate knowledge of knowing back roads, knowing alternative routes, and sometimes adding miles to your journey just to make sure that things can keep moving. They also become masters of timing, knowing exactly when to leave and when to avoid the worst traffic. But even with these adaptations, traffic can really remain a daily source of frustration for many people. Now, who this works for? Well, patient people who have flexible schedules and can avoid rush hour, or those who work remotely and rarely need to commute. Also, podcast lovers who don't mind the extra time in the car to finish their favorite episodes. Those would actually love it. And of course, if you listen to books, that's another one. But who might struggle? Well, anyone who is affected by public transportation, or people who value punctuality, or those who have a low tolerance for sitting in unexpected traffic jams. Now, traffic is one thing, but what happens when the road literally becomes impassable? Well, that brings us to our next challenge, which is the flooding risk, a real reality in this area. So, Lafayette has really a complicated relationship, I guess you could say, with water. While we're not on the coast, we have low-lying terrain and an abundant rainfall that's really significant, and it can create challenges that seem to be getting worse and worse with each passing year. Even moderate rainstorms can quickly overwhelm drain systems, can turn streets into maybe impromptu rivers, or threatening homes that have never even flooded before. Major events that we've had, such as the catastrophic floods of 2016, have demonstrated just how valuable large parts of the city can be, with thousands of homes being damaged really across the parish. Now, the impact really extends far beyond the immediate inconvenience. Flood insurance rates have skyrocketed in some areas and added hundreds or even thousands of dollars to the annual cost of owning some homes. Some neighborhoods have even seen property values stagnant or decline due to the increased flood risk or the past flood events that have happened. For homebuyers, this really creates a very complex calculus. The more affordable homes are often in areas with higher flood risk, while properties are on higher ground really command more significant premiums. Even homes that have never flooded may require careful evaluation of what the elevation is, the drainage, or even the flood zone classification. Now, daily life really adapts to this reality. Residents become amateur meteorologists, right? Closely watching the weather patterns during the rainy seasons, and many keep emergency supplies ready and develop evacuation plans just in case of major flooding or even hurricanes. Now, some have raised their homes or even installed flood prevention measures at considerable expense. That is options and things that have helped. The city has also implemented various drainage improvement projects over the years, dumping millions of dollars into making it better. But the combination of increasing development, which reduces the natural drainage, and more intense rainfall means that these events could still remain significant, a concern basically for the foreseeable future. Now, who does this work for? Well, people who are comfortable with some environmental risk and are willing to do their proper due diligence when buying a property. And then, of course, having a proper agent to be able to help you answer those questions is always helpful. Also, those who don't mind occasionally working from home when the roads are impassable. Now, who might struggle? Well, anyone with the anxiety, of course, of natural disasters, those unwilling to pay for flood insurance, or people with valuable possessions that would be difficult to replace if they're damaged. Now, while flooding might occasionally keep you from work, finding that job in the first place will have its own challenges. So point number 4, let's talk about the limited professional opportunities that we really have here. Now, Lafayette's economy has traditionally been tied to the oil and gas industry, where we've seen lots of booms in the history. And while that's created prosperity during specific times, the cynical nature of energy markets really has led this significant volatility into the job market over the past decade. The statistics really tell the true part of the story. Now, Lafayette's unemployment rate has frequently exceeded both state and national averages in the recent years, but the numbers don't capture the full picture of unemployment, where skilled professionals often find themselves taking positions below their qualification level or outside of their field expertise simply to remain in the area. Professional salaries generally lag between the national average of about 15 to 20%, even accounting for Lafayette's lower cost of living. The entry-level professional positions might start anywhere from about $60,000 to $70,000 in larger markets, often being around $45,000 to $55,000 here in this area. And while that money can still go reasonably far in Lafayette, the gap widens as the careers advance, with senior positions often plateauing well below what peers make in more competitive markets. Career advancement often requires job hopping between the limited number of major employers, and many ambitious professionals eventually face a difficult choice: either relocate for better opportunities or accept the career ceiling that comes with staying where you're at. Now, this is particularly challenging in specialized fields where there may be only a handful of suitable employers in the entire region. There are bright spots, including growth in healthcare, technology, manufacturing sectors that can really be helping diversify the economy. The university and the college systems are also working to align education with emerging opportunities, but for now, the professional landscape really remains more limited than what you'd find in most major metropolitan areas. Now, who does this work for? Well, those in healthcare, education, or specific niches in Lafayette where they have some strong employers. Also, entrepreneurs who want to create their own opportunities, remote workers who bring their jobs with them, or people nearing retirement who don't need career advancement. Who might struggle? Well, ambitious young professionals, those in specialized fields, or dual career couples who need both strong employment options. The professional landscape isn't the only thing that has limited in Lafayette. Let's talk about what's happening when you look for something to do after work. So number 5 is going to be the limited entertainment and cultural offerings that we have. So at the first glance, Lafayette seems to have a really vibrant cultural scene with its festivals, its music, and its food, and that is the case. But while those elements are certainly authentic and enjoyable, the overall entertainment landscape is a bit more limited than you'd find in larger metropolitan areas. The absence of certain amenities becomes apparent after living here for a while. There are no major sports leagues or teams in the area, which really require you to travel to New Orleans or Houston or even Baton Rouge to see things like LSU for professional games versus college. Now, the concert scene is limited as well, with many major tours really skipping the Lafayette and going to more larger, more favorable markets. Theater and performing arts exist, but it's on a much smaller scale with much fewer productions. They have had some exciting announcements about the future getting better with that, but shopping options have improved with developments like River Ranch and expansions to the mall area, outdoor shopping areas that have gotten better. But fashionistas and specialty shoppers may often find themselves making regular trips to maybe Houston, New Orleans, or Baton Rouge to get more selection. And the same applies to those dining. While Cajun and Creole cuisine is excellent, other international options can be somewhat limited or may have some sort of fusion or Americanized version of what they are. Now, nightlife also centers around a few areas like downtown, the Oil Center, but it closes relatively early compared to some of the bigger cities. The bar scene really caters heavily to the college students during the academic year, which can be off-putting for maybe some young professionals or other residents that are looking for a more sophisticated environment. Now, outdoor recreation is available, but it's constrained by the flat terrain, the hot and the humid climate that we have for most of the year. Now, there are no mountains or beaches within a quick drive, and even the nearest state parks offer relatively moderate experiences compared to where your geographically blessed regions might be. Now, this isn't to say that there isn't nothing to do. Lafayette does punch above its weight with some of the festivals like Festival International, which is an amazing music festival, and lots of community events that we have. But the entertainment calendar really has noticeable gaps, like finding something to do can require more creativity or effort than in some larger cities. So who does this work for? Well, people who appreciate quality over quantity and enjoy making their own fun or maybe having some simple entertainment options, and also those who value authenticity and cultural experiences rather than endless options. Now, who might struggle? Well, cultural omnivores used to endless options, avid shoppers, serious sports fans, or anyone who may get bored easily and needs constant stimulation. Now, while Lafayette is limited on the options that might leave you looking for something to do, Lafayette's next challenge might leave you looking for actual shelter. Let's talk about number 6, the bug situation. Now, something that makes newcomers seriously question their decision to move here is, of course, the bugs. Lafayette's warm, humid climate creates perfect conditions for a variety of insects that can really make life interesting, to put it politely. First, there are the mosquitoes, and not just any mosquitoes, the aggressive ones that seem to laugh at repellent. They're active from spring through fall, and during the mild winters, they barely can take a break. Then we also have what the locals call palmetto bugs, giant cockroaches that fly and seem to appear out of nowhere, even in the cleanest of homes. Fire ants deserve special mention. These aggressive little warriors tend to bend mounds overnight and can deliver painful stings if you happen to land in one of those, and leaving you some welts. A pristine lawn can suddenly sprout with mounds after a good rain, making barefoot walking very risky. The bug situation really requires constant vigilance and regular expense. Most homeowners will spend somewhere around $50 to $100 quarterly on their pest control services, and that's just for regular maintenance. Termite contracts are negotiable for homeowners, adding another annual expense. Definitely want to make sure that you have some sort of bond in place. And despite all of these measures, you'll still have occasional unwanted visitors. Now, locals develop coping strategies, keeping doors closed quickly and checking shoes before putting them on, careful food storage, and maintaining vigilant yard maintenance. But even with the pest prevention, encounters are inevitable, and you haven't truly lived in Lafayette until you've had a flying cockroach dive bomb at you while driving, or maybe when you got home somewhere in your house. Now, who does this work for? Well, people who are squeamish about insects, those willing to maintain regular pest control, and anyone who can laugh off the occasional close encounters with Louisiana native wildlife. Now, those who might struggle, well, those who have insect phobias are people who are sensitive to bug bites or anyone that's unwilling to accept sharing your space with these certain critters as being just a part of life here. Now, just dealing with the bugs is a constant battle, but it's also keeping your yard in check, which brings us to our final challenge, which is the rising cost of living here. Number 7. While Lafayette seems to be affordable at first glance, especially compared to most major metropolitan areas, the true cost of living can catch many newcomers off guard. So let's break down the reality of what it actually costs to live here in 2025. Housing prices have jumped significantly since 2020, with the average home around $275,000. That's about a 25 to 30% increase in just the past few years, but rental rates haven't escaped this trend, with a decent 2-bedroom apartment typically running anywhere from $1,200 all the way up to even $1,500 a month. But the sticker price is really just the beginning. Insurance costs in Lafayette can also be really shocking. You're looking at some of the highest home and auto insurance rates in Louisiana, and if you're in a flood zone, add another hefty flood insurance premium to that. I've seen combined insurance costs eat up as much of a homeowner's monthly budget as their mortgage payment can be. Utilities are also another wild card. Those AC bills we talked about earlier, they easily can hit the $200 to $400 mark monthly for a modest-sized property if you're not well insulated, and add in the cost of year-round pest control. Regular home maintenance is really a combat of the humidity and lawn care to keep up with the aggressive growing season of the grass, and your monthly expenses can really start to balloon beyond what you may have budgeted. Now, the silver lining is that the property taxes remain relatively low compared to many other states, and Louisiana doesn't tax retirement income. Groceries and everyday items are reasonably priced, and you can still find good housing value compared to most of the coastal markets. Now, who does this work for? Well, people with stable incomes who've done their homework on the total cost of living, retirees benefiting from Louisiana's tax structure, and those coming from more expensive markets who can appreciate the relative value. Who might struggle? Well, first-time homebuyers surprised by the insurance cost, or anyone who is on a fixed income may be sensitive to rising utility bills, or those whose income hasn't kept the pace with local inflation. There you have it. It's the 7 biggest challenges of living in Lafayette, but remember, thousands of people call this city home and wouldn't have it any other way, including myself. So if you made it through all these 7 challenges and still think that Lafayette might be right for you, you're exactly the kind of person who would truly thrive here. I help people find a perfect spot in Lafayette every day, working with them to match them with the neighborhoods and the properties that minimize these challenges while maximizing what they love about our unique city. My contact information is in the description below or right here on screen. So let's talk about finding your ideal home. And if you want to dive deeper into Lafayette, in my next video, I break down the top neighborhoods to live in, so you can find the spots that help you to avoid many of the challenges that we talked about today. Click this video and I'll see you in that one.